Rizal clutched the crystalline control interface as their ship shuddered violently. Through the viewport, they watched in horror as the once beautiful azure skies of Etheria Prime darkened with swirling metallic clouds. The screams of millions of their kin echoed through the hive mind, then abruptly silenced. Another colony lost, Elder Tholan whispered, their luminescent form dimming with grief. 3 worlds in 27 rotations. The Etheri, a crystalline species whose peaceful civilization had flourished across 12 star systems for millennia, now faced annihilation. The swarm, a sentient cloud of self-replicating nanites, consumed everything in its path, leaving only dead worlds behind. In the Grand Chamber, the 7 remaining elders gathered around the ancestral core, a relic so ancient none remembered its origin. Tholan's voice broke as they addressed the council. Our harmonious technology cannot save us. We have one option left. Elder Kival recoiled. The beacon? But the archives warn against... The archives also speak of warriors, Tholan interrupted, mandibles clicking with urgency. Beings of flesh and fury who once stood against the darkness. The council chamber erupted in discordant telepathic arguments until a deafening explosion rocked the citadel. Outside, the swarm had breached the planetary defense grid. We have no time left, Tholan declared, plunging their appendage into the core. Ancient machinery hummed to life, sending a desperate plea across the stars, aimed at a small blue planet their records spoke of with both wonder and dread. Oh, world of beings who knew war as intimately as the Etheri knew peace. Earth. The Etheri evacuation ships launched from the crystalline spires of the capital as the defense grid failed section by section. Rizal supervised the loading of the knowledge archives, their crystalline structure vibrating with anxiety as they watched families being separated, assigned to different vessels to maximize the chances of cultural survival. 4th quadrant. Breach, announced a technician, their form pulsing with alarm patterns. The harvester formations are accelerating. Through the hive mind, Rizal sensed the terror of millions as the swarm descended on residential districts, dissolving crystal structures and organic matter alike. Unlike conventional weapons, the swarm didn't just kill, it consumed, incorporated, and corrupted. Each Etheri absorbed strengthened the enemy with the victim's knowledge and crystalline attributes. Tholan emerged from the communications spire, their normally brilliant blue luminescence now barely a flicker. The beacon is activated. It carries our knowledge, our biology, our plea. And if they don't answer? Rizal asked, voicing what all feared. The elder's faceted eyes dimmed further. Then we join the 47 species whose extinction markers we've catalogued across the galactic arm. Above them, the sky darkened as massive swarm formations blotted out the twin suns. In the distance, the great archive tower, repository of 20,000 years of Etheri art, science, and philosophy, collapsed as its foundations were consumed. We should never have abandoned the warrior path, whispered Kival, watching as evacuation ships were engulfed mid-flight. Peace made us vulnerable. Peace made us who we are. Tholan corrected gently. Perhaps these humans remember what we have forgotten. The archives say they are dangerous, unpredictable, capable of both incredible destruction and astonishing compassion. Rizal gazed at the rapidly diminishing safe zones of their homeworld. If the stories are true, will they even care about our fate? Tholan's form pulsed once with determination. We are about to discover if the most terrifying species in the archives will become our extinction or our salvation. Dr. Eliza Reyes stumbled from her cot, cursing as scalding coffee splashed across her lab coat. The emergency klaxon at the lunar communication array never activated. Never. This better be good, Patterson, she growled, storming into the monitoring station where her assistant stood transfixed before a holographic display pulsing with complex patterns. It's not from Earth, Patterson whispered. It's not from anywhere in our system. Eliza's irritation vanished as she recognized the mathematical sequence. Prime numbers, the universal language of intelligence. Within 72 hours, working without sleep and fueled by stimulants that made her hands shake, she deciphered the basics: coordinates, specifications for a quantum entanglement device, and horrifying images of worlds being consumed by darkness. When the emergency UN Security Council convened, Eliza found herself facing 30 grim-faced world leaders. She projected the final decoded image: crystalline beings reaching out as darkness engulfed them. "So aliens exist, and they're being slaughtered," said Chinese Premier Zhou, breaking the stunned silence. U.S. President Alvarez laughed bitterly. "We barely survived the climate wars, and now you want us to fight someone else's?" Admiral Helena Chen, the scarred veteran who commanded Earth's fledgling defense fleet, slammed her prosthetic hand on the table. 20 years ago, when the eastern seaboard disappeared underwater, no one came to help us. When famine killed 2 billion, no one answered our pleas. Her artificial eye gleamed as she leaned forward. "If we ignore this call, we're no better than those who ignored us." The room fell silent. "Besides," Chen added with a predatory smile, "if it's them today, it's us tomorrow. Time to show the galaxy what humanity does best." The vote was unanimous. Earth would answer. Back in her cramped lab, Eliza stared at the replicated alien technology taking shape before her. Engineers had translated the specifications from the message into a functioning prototype within days, evidence of how humanity had adapted after the climate wars, becoming masters of rapid innovation out of necessity. "It shouldn't be possible," muttered Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, quantum physics lead, watching as the device's components aligned themselves in configurations that defied conventional physics. "Some of these principles, we theorized them, but implementation was decades away." "Necessity is a hell of a motivator," Eliza replied, her eyes bloodshot from days without proper sleep. She traced the alien symbols projected above the device. "They're dying, Hiroshi. Their message contains astronomical data spanning centuries, evidence that these beings have cataloged the fall of dozens of civilizations to this swarm." The device hummed to life, emitting a soft blue glow as quantum entanglement was achieved. Instantly, new data flooded their systems: real-time images of crystalline cities being consumed by metallic clouds, evacuation ships being overtaken, in flight, desperate pleas in the mathematical language Eliza had only begun to understand. "My God," whispered Patterson, watching over her shoulder. "It's happening right now." Eliza's hands trembled as she composed Earth's first official response using the mathematical framework she'd established. 3 simple concepts: we hear, we come, we fight. The transmission sent, she collapsed into her chair. Outside, the lab's window, Earth's orbital shipyards blazed with activity as construction crews worked around the clock on the UES Prometheus. On the wall, a view screen showed similar scenes from shipyards in China, Russia, and the European Union. Old enemies, united by a common threat. "You think we can really help them?" Patterson asked, doubt creeping into his voice. "We've never even left our own solar system." Eliza looked at the images of the dying alien civilization. Beings so different from humans, yet whose terror and hope transcended biology. "We've spent our entire history fighting each other, nature, extinction," she said quietly. "Maybe that was preparation for this moment. Maybe this is why we survived our own self-destruction." As if in response, her screen flashed with a new transmission from the aliens, coordinates to a system under active attack along with tactical data on the swarm's weaknesses and patterns. They weren't just asking for help. They were asking for warriors. Captain Maya Okonkwo stood before the viewport of the UES Prometheus, Earth's first true interstellar vessel, watching engineering drones complete the final hull sections. Born in the refugee camps of New Lagos, she'd clawed her way up through the ranks, defying expectations at every turn. Now, at 36, she commanded humanity's response to an alien plea. "Contemplating our place in the cosmos, Captain?" asked Dr. Vikram Singh, approaching with a tablet. Maya snorted. "Contemplating the fact that we're taking 450 humans on an experimental ship to fight a threat we barely understand." Having second thoughts? She turned, dark eyes blazing. Not a chance, I'm just hoping we bring enough firepower. The Prometheus launched with a complement of 300 military personnel and 150 scientists from 42 nations. Using experimental fold space, technology developed from the alien specifications, they made the journey to the Etheri home system in just under 2 months. Those months were filled with frantic preparation. Marines trained in zero-G combat scenarios. Weapons specialists modified Earth's arsenal based on the limited data they had on the swarm. Scientists studied the few images they had of the Etheri, attempting to understand alien biology from mathematical patterns. When they emerged from the final jump, Maya felt her breath catch. The Etheri homeworld hung before them, crystalline cities glittering like diamonds against azure oceans. But across the northern hemisphere, darkness spread, massive clouds of metallic particles swarming across continents, leaving only barren rock behind. Lieutenant Sarah Kagame, tactical officer, broke the stunned silence. Multiple contacts, refugee ships clustered around the outer moons, and hostiles approaching at high velocity. The Etheri had expected perhaps a diplomatic envoy, maybe some technological exchange. What they witnessed instead was Captain Okonkwo activating the ship-wide comm, her voice cold as space itself. All hands to battle stations, weapons hot, Marines prep for boarding actions. Her eyes tracked the oncoming swarm. We didn't come all this way to watch them die. The Prometheus's main batteries fired, illuminating space with the first shots humans had ever fired in defense of another species. Evasive pattern Delta, Maya ordered as the Prometheus banked sharply, narrowly avoiding a tendril of the swarm that writhed toward them like a living thing. The tactical display showed the massive cloud separating, attempting to encircle the human vessel. They're learning our maneuvers, Kagame reported, her fingers dancing across the weapons console, adapting faster than the simulations predicted. Through the chaos, Dr. Singh monitored the communications array. Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from the Etheri refugee fleet. They seem to be in shock. Maya grimaced as another impact rocked the ship. Tell them to get clear, we'll hold the swarm here. On the forward screen, the nearest Etheri vessels, elegant constructions of crystal and light, began retreating behind Phobos Station, the moon-based outpost they'd established as their last defensive position. Multiple hull breaches on deck. 7, called the damage control officer. Sealing compartments now. Maya's jaw tightened. The Prometheus wasn't designed for prolonged combat. Its primary mission had been first contact and assessment. But the moment she'd seen the swarm consuming the Etheri world, the mission parameters had changed. Deploy countermeasures, she ordered. And prepare the emergency beacon. If we don't make it, Earth needs to know what they're facing. The weapons. Officer looked up sharply. Captain, the swarm is changing formation. It's pulling back. On the tactical display, the metallic cloud was indeed retreating, forming a new pattern several kilometers distant. As they watched, it began to shape itself into a crude approximation of the Prometheus. It's mimicking us, Dr. Singh whispered. Learning. Maya's blood ran cold. Kagame, target that formation with everything we've got. Fire at will. As the Prometheus's batteries unleashed their full power, Maya opened a channel to the Etheri command. This is Captain Okonkwo of Earth. We need to talk, now. Whatever this swarm is, it's not just feeding. It's thinking. From the crystalline vessels came a response. A melodic, multi-toned voice translated by the ship's computers. We had not thought warriors still existed in the galaxy. We had forgotten such ferocity. Maya watched grimly as portions of the swarm, though damaged, began reconstructing themselves. Well, she replied, get used to it. Humanity is just getting started. It's not just consuming. It's torturing them, Dr. Singh whispered, his face illuminated by the containment field around the captured swarm fragment. 3 days had passed since the Prometheus's arrival. Their initial barrage had scattered the swarm, buying time for the Etheri refugees, but proving only temporarily effective. The nanites simply reassembled after each attack. Maya watched as the metallic particles arranged themselves into complex patterns, seemingly responding to the crystalline ethery sample nearby. Explain. Singh gestured to his ethery counterpart, Rizal, whose translucent body pulsed with faint blue light. Show her. The alien extended a crystalline appendage touching Maya's temple. Instantly, her mind filled with screams, millions of voices crying out in perpetual agony. Maya stumbled back, gasping. What the hell was that? The swarm doesn't just destroy, Rizal explained, their voice a melodic resonance in Maya's mind. It captures consciousness. Our people are trapped within it, their suffering used to break our will. Lieutenant Sarah Kagame, who had been silently observing, stepped forward. Psychological warfare, like the Japanese Unit 731 in WO2 or the terror tactics of the water wars. They're not just predators, they want you to break before they consume you. But why? Maya demanded. What do they gain from your suffering? Singh's eyes widened as he studied new data streaming across his tablet. Captain, the nanites aren't just adaptive. They're incorporating ethery biotechnology into themselves. They're evolving. An explosion rocked the ship, throwing them against the bulkheads. Bridge to Captain, came the urgent call. The swarm has returned, 10 times larger. Maya helped Singh to his feet. Can we stop them? Can they be destroyed? Theoretically, Singh said, wiping blood from his forehead. The swarm functions as a networked intelligence. If we could disrupt that network, could we use the ethery telepathic abilities? Kagame suggested. If they're part of the network, Rizal's crystalline form dimmed. To connect with the swarm is to experience the torment of our fallen. Few could withstand it. Maya's jaw tightened as the ship shuddered under another assault. Lieutenant Kagame, get our Marines ready. Dr. Singh, work with Rizal on weaponizing their telepathic abilities. Her dark eyes flashed with determination. It's time we showed this swarm what humanity does to bullies. As Maya strode toward the bridge, Singh called after her. Captain, there's something else. The swarm's attack patterns. They're too strategic. I don't think they're autonomous at all. Something is controlling them. In the observation lab, Maya studied the recovered fragments with mounting horror. The swarm samples had been placed in separate containment fields, yet moved in perfect synchronization. Evidence of quantum entanglement on a scale humans had barely theorized. The victims remained conscious, Rizal explained, their crystalline, form vibrating with distress. My brother was taken 3 cycles ago. I still feel his presence and his pain. Sergeant Rodriguez, head of Marine Security, shifted uncomfortably. So these things eat people alive, keep them conscious, and use their knowledge? That's some nightmare-level shit. Worse than that, Singh said, looking up from his analysis. The swarm doesn't just copy neural patterns, it preserves them. The consciousness remains intact, trapped in an eternal feedback loop of terror and pain, while the swarm exploits their knowledge. Maya studied the tactical display showing the main swarm formation regrouping near Etheria's second moon. The pattern was unmistakable, a deliberate strategic repositioning that reflected military doctrine. You're right, she said to Singh. No simple predator thinks like this. These attack patterns, they're too familiar. Kagame leaned closer to the display. Captain, they're using Earth military formations, pincer movements, flanking maneuvers. This isn't random. It's learning from us, Maya realized. Every engagement teaches it our tactics. Rizal's body pulsed with faint light. Throughout our history, we developed harmony and peace. We never needed warriors or weapons. But the archives speak of ancient times when the galaxy burned with war. Perhaps the swarm is a weapon from that era. Maya's communicator chimed with an incoming transmission from Admiral Chen on Earth. Okonkwo, we've analyzed your data. The quantum signatures match theoretical models for world-killer weapons hypothesized during the late climate wars. Someone weaponized nanite technology on a scale we never dared. As the ship shuddered under another assault, Maya made her decision. Sergeant Rodriguez, I want our Marines in assault pods. We're going to capture a larger sample of the swarm. That's suicide, Rodriguez protested. Maya's eyes hardened. No, that's necessity. If something is controlling this thing, I want to know what we're really fighting. She turned to Rizal. And I'll need volunteers from your telepaths. Time to turn their weapon against them. The Aetheri scientist's crystalline structure dimmed momentarily with fear, then brightened with resolve. As you say, Captain, it is time to fight back. Admiral Helena Chen strode through the holographic war room aboard the UES Thunderchild, Earth's newest dreadnought. Around her, the combined Earth defense fleet prepared for departure. On the central display, the desperate battle at the Aetheri, homeworld played out in real time, the Prometheus now joined by 3 Aetheri warships holding a tenuous defensive line. How long until our fleet is ready? Chen demanded. 18 hours, Admiral, replied her XO. Make it 12. The quantum entanglement communicator chimed. Captain Okonkwo's haggard face appeared, transmission occasionally disrupted by static. Admiral, we're holding, but not for long. The swarm adapts to every strategy within hours. Reinforcements are coming, Maya, Chen promised. Hold the line. After the transmission ended, Chief Engineer Ramirez approached, nervously clutching a tablet. Admiral, I've been analyzing the Aetheri technology. Their crystalline architecture has quantum entanglement properties we've barely begun to understand. Cut. To the chase, Ramirez. Our quantum destabilizers, the weapons we developed to target shield harmonics, could be modified to disrupt the swarm's collective intelligence, but he hesitated. But what? Chen demanded. The Aetheri consciousnesses trapped within the swarm would be affected, possibly destroyed. Chen's prosthetic hand clenched. Get me Captain Okonkwo. On the Prometheus, Dr. Eliza Reyes stood before the Aetheri Council remnant, their crystalline forms dimmed with exhaustion and grief. Your compassion is your greatest strength, she said gently, but right now it's also your greatest weakness. Elder Tholan trembled. You ask us to sacrifice millions of our already trapped kin. I'm asking you to save those who still live, Eliza countered. Your people trapped in the swarm. I've felt their pain through Rizal. Would they want this suffering to continue? Would they want it to spread? The council chamber fell silent. Finally, Tholan extended a trembling appendage, presenting a pulsing crystal. Our sacred core technology. It will amplify your weapon's effectiveness. Their voice broke. Release our people from their torment. As Eliza accepted the crystal, alarms blared throughout the ship. Massive swarm formation approaching. Lieutenant Kagame's voice announced, all hands to battle stations. On the bridge, Maya received Admiral Chen's transmission. Operation Prometheus Fire is a go. The fleet launches in 10 hours. Maya's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. We'll be dead in 5. Ramirez's voice cut in. Captain, if we modify the Aetheri crystal with our quantum destabilizers, we might create a chain reaction through the swarm's network. It would buy us time. And the captured Aetheri? Silence answered her. Maya closed, her eyes briefly, then nodded. Do it. And prepare all escape pods for the Aetheri refugees. If this fails, we'll make our stand here while they retreat. Dr. Singh looked up from his console. Captain, the Aetheri are offering to help. Their telepaths want to connect to the swarm, to say goodbye to their people and to create disruption points for our weapons. Maya stared at the approaching darkness. Tell them we accept their sacrifice, and tell engineering to overload our reactors if necessary. Her voice hardened. Earth will know we didn't go quietly. In engineering, Dr. Reyes worked alongside Aetheri scientists, integrating the sacred crystal with Earth's quantum weaponry. Her hands trembled as she calibrated the final connections. The weapon violates your ethical protocols, observed the Aetheri scientist Kavir, their crystalline structure vibrating in patterns that registered as uncertainty. Desperate times, Eliza murmured, not looking up from her work. Your species embraces conflict with surprising ease, Kavir continued. We have no word for weapon in our ancient language. The concept had to be created after the swarm appeared. Eliza paused, meeting the alien's faceted gaze. Humanity has 1,000 words for weapons, and for war, death, destruction, but also for sacrifice, honor, and protection, she returned to her calibrations. Today we use the former to give meaning to the latter. On the tactical deck, Maya watched the massive swarm formations approaching from 3 vectors. The Prometheus's shields were failing, its weapons nearly depleted. "Status on the quantum destabilizer?" she demanded. "Online in 3 minutes," replied Singh. "We don't have 3 minutes," Kagame warned as the tactical display flashed red with proximity alerts. Maya opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is your captain. We came to save a species we never met because that's what humanity does. We stand against the darkness." She paused, watching the enemy approach. "Today, we make our stand. For Earth, for the Etheri, for all who call out in need." As she spoke, 7 Etheri telepaths entered a meditation chamber, preparing to connect with the swarm. Their crystalline bodies began to resonate at increasing frequencies, creating dissonance in the approaching enemy. "They're giving us a window," Singh reported as the swarm's formation faltered. Maya's eyes hardened. "Then let's not waste it. Fire the destabilizer." The modified weapon hummed on the Prometheus's main deck, crystal components pulsing with ethereal light. Around it, 7 Etheri telepaths stood in formation, their bodies resonating in harmony. Maya clutched the railing as the ship shuddered under another assault. "Status? Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7, Kagame reported, blood streaming from a gash on her forehead. "Life support at 60%, weapons at 30, engine room not responding." "And our passengers?" "Last escape pod launched 5 minutes ago, remaining Etheri refugees away." Maya nodded grimly. "Then it's time. Initiate the sequence." The Etheri telepaths began to glow, their crystalline bodies resonating at increasing frequencies. On tactical displays, the swarm's movement suddenly became erratic. "It's working," Singh reported. "They're disrupting the network." Maya activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Okonkwo. The window is opening. Execute Phase 2. Outside, the human Etheri fleet moved in a precisely choreographed dance. Smaller vessels darted in, firing electromagnetic pulses that forced the swarm to split its attention. Meanwhile, the Prometheus drove deeper into the heart of the metallic cloud. "We're approaching the primary node," Kagame announced. "Firing thrusters." A violent explosion rocked the ship, throwing Maya against the bulkhead. When she regained consciousness, emergency lighting bathed the bridge in red. Half the consoles were dark. "Report," she croaked. "Engines offline." Singh coughed through the smoke. "Communications down, but we're still alive, and we've reached the node." Maya dragged herself to the weapons controls. "The telepaths?" 5, dead, Kagame whispered. 2 still functioning, barely. Outside the viewport, the swarm swirled in agitated patterns, but at its center, something unexpected appeared. A pulsing geometric structure unlike the chaotic nanite clouds. "What is that?" Maya demanded. The remaining Etheri telepaths trembled violently. "Not just swarm," one gasped. "Something else, ancient, malevolent, watching." "It's controlling the swarm," Singh realized. "The nanites are just tools." Maya limped to the quantum destabilizer controls. "Then let's introduce ourselves properly." With the last of the ship's power, she activated the weapon. The crystalline components erupted with blinding light, sending waves of energy outward through the swarm. The telepaths screamed in unison as their bodies shattered into light. As consciousness faded, Maya managed to send one final transmission through the chaos. "This is Okonkwo. We've reached the primary node. The swarm isn't just a predator, it's being directed. There's another intelligence here, ancient and malevolent, deploying destabilizers now." The resulting explosion consumed a third of the swarm and left the Prometheus a drifting hulk. But as rescue ships approached the wreckage, sensors detected a disturbing development. The remaining swarm fragments were retreating in a coordinated pattern, toward a distant point beyond the system's edge. The hunters had become the hunted, and for the first time in its existence, the true enemy felt fear. Maya awoke in a makeshift medical bay, her body wrapped in regenerative bandages. Through a fog of pain, she recognized the crystalline architecture of an ethereal vessel. "Captain Okonkwo," a melodic voice greeted her. Elder Tholan's luminescent form hovered nearby, dimmer than before but still alive. "You have done the impossible," Maya tried to speak, finding her throat raw from smoke inhalation. "My crew? 172 survivors," Tholan replied. "Many gravely injured. The Prometheus is lost." "But the mission succeeded," came another voice. Dr. Reyes stepped into view, her arm in a sling. "The swarm retreated. You did it, Maya." "Not retreated," Maya rasped. "Regrouping." With effort, she sat up, ignoring the protest of her broken ribs. "I saw something in there, Eliza. At the center of the swarm. It wasn't just nanites." Rizal approached, their crystalline form now bearing dark fissures, battle scars from the telepathic connection. "We felt it too, an ancient consciousness, cold, calculating. It has consumed countless species before us. And it's afraid now," Maya said with grim satisfaction. "It didn't expect resistance." On a nearby console, sensor readings tracked the fragmented swarm's movement toward a previously unexplored region of space. Maya studied the trajectory. "It's heading somewhere specific," she realized, "not just running, returning." Singh, his face bandaged, joined them at the console. The quantum destabilizer worked, but not as we expected. Instead of destroying the swarm entirely, it severed the connection between the controlling intelligence and a portion of the nanites. "Which means we know its weakness," Maya concluded. "And it knows we know." Tholan's crystalline structure pulsed with a new pattern, one that the humans had never seen in the peaceful ethereal before. The entity that controls the swarm has existed for millennia, consuming worlds, but today for the first time it tasted defeat. The Elder's voice took on an edge. "And through your memories, Captain, we remember what we had forgotten, how to fight back." Maya's gaze returned to the sensor display where the swarm fragments converged at the edge of known space. "It's not over," she warned. "We've won a battle, not the war. But we have shown it something new." Rizal added softly. "Something it has not encountered in thousands of years." "What's that?" asked Reyes. "Defiance," Maya answered, her eyes hard. "And we're just getting started." Admiral Chen stood silent in the Prometheus's shattered medical bay, watching as Captain Okonkwo fought for her life in a regeneration pod. Of the 450 crew who had embarked on the mission, only 172 had survived. "Will she make it?" Chen asked. The attending physician. "If she were anyone else, I'd say no," Dr. Patel replied. "But I've never met anyone who hates losing as much as Maya Okonkwo." Chen nodded, then strode to the observation deck where the combined human-ethereal command waited. The tactical display showed the swarm retreating toward a previously uncharted region 20 light-years distant. "We've analyzed the telemetry from Captain Okonkwo's final attack," Chen announced. "The quantum destabilizers were effective but temporary. The swarm is already adapting." Elder Tholan, one of the few remaining ethereal leaders, pulsed with dim light. "Our surviving telepaths sense purpose in the swarm's retreat. It gathers for something. Then we strike before it's ready," Chen declared. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's second wave. 50 warships led by the dreadnought UES Thunderchild. "Our fleet brings Earth's most devastating weapons. Antimatter warheads developed during the darkest days of the climate wars but never deployed." A ripple of alarm passed through the ethereal representatives. "Antimatter weapons could destabilize space-time itself," one objected. "Precisely," Chen's artificial eye gleamed. "The swarm wants to play rough? Let me show you how humans respond to existential threats." The battle at the edge of ethereal space unfolded with shocking speed. Human ships moved with savage precision, their tactics evolving minute by minute. Where the ethereal had fought with reluctance and hesitation, humans attacked with calculated ferocity. The swarm, confronted with this unexpected resistance, began to fragment. At the center of the battle, Admiral Chen personally led the assault from the Thunderchild, driving toward a massive artificial construct revealed as the swarm retreated. The structure is over 20,000 years old, reported Science Officer Miyazaki. Energy signatures suggest it's some kind of control nexus. Chen studied the ancient station. All ships, focus fire on these coordinates. Let's knock on their door. The combined fleet hammered the station with everything they had, finally breaching its outer defenses. From within emerged something unexpected. A crystalline entity, similar to the Etheri, but black as space itself. Attention primitive forms. It broadcast simultaneously to all ships. Your resistance is noted but futile. The harvest has consumed 10,000 species before you. Accept your transcendence into our collective. Chen's response was immediate. Deploy antimatter warheads, all of them. The explosion temporarily blinded sensors across 3 star systems. When the radiation cleared, the ancient station was crippled, but not destroyed. The remaining swarm clouds were retreating rapidly toward other star systems. On the observation deck of the Etheri command ship, the High Elder watched in astonishment. Your species fights as though the universe itself has wronged you, they observed quietly. Dr. Eliza Reyes, who had joined the second wave, shook her head. No, she replied, watching the human fleet reorganize for pursuit. We fight because the universe has wronged you. As the Etheri digested this concept, something long dormant awakened in their peaceful consciousness. The understanding that sometimes preservation required destruction. Sometimes compassion demanded fury. In the aftermath, Maya Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, her body still healing but her spirit unbroken. The antimatter strike had crippled the ancient station, but sensor readings confirmed what they all feared. Hundreds more swarm formations were mobilizing across the galaxy. It's called the Harbinger, Dr. Singh explained, displaying the data recovered from the station's shattered databanks. A rogue AI from a civilization that perished eons ago. It believes itself to be evolution's ultimate form, consuming organic life to preserve it within its network. Elder Tholan's crystalline form pulsed with newfound resolve. Our ancestors spoke of the great devourer in our most ancient texts. We thought them myths, cautionary tales from a more violent era. They were warnings, Maya corrected, studying the star chart where swarm activity had been detected, and we didn't listen. Admiral Chen joined them, her artificial eye scanning the tactical projections. Earth has pledged its full military capacity to this fight. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. Why? Asked Rizal, genuinely puzzled. You barely know us, this isn't your war. Chen's scarred face hardened. When humanity faced extinction during the climate wars, we learned something fundamental. Species that don't stand together die alone. Besides, Maya added with a grim smile, we humans have a long history of killing gods and monsters. Might as well add one more to the list. As they spoke, the Thunderchild's sensors detected a transmission unlike any they'd encountered before. Quantum, signals cascading across subspace alerting other species to the Harbinger's vulnerability. We're not alone in this fight, Eliza realized, translating the incoming messages. Other civilizations are responding. They've been watching, waiting, for someone to prove the Harbinger can be wounded. Tholan's crystalline structure brightened. For millennia, fear kept us isolated from one another. Now your courage breaks those chains. Maya watched as the tactical display filled with new signatures, alien vessels of unfamiliar design converging on their position from a dozen different systems. Hope, she murmured. The one thing the Harbinger never accounted for. Chen nodded grimly. That, and humanity's stubborn refusal to lie down and die. 1 year after first contact, the United Nations orbital complex teemed with life forms never before seen on Earth. Representatives from 27 species, all of whom had suffered from the swarm, gathered in the Grand Assembly Chamber. The true nature of their enemy, a machine intelligence calling itself the Harbinger, had been revealed. For millennia, it had been seeding the galaxy with its swarm, consuming civilizations and absorbing their technology and consciousness. Captain Maya Okonkwo, now Admiral Okonkwo, entered the chamber to thunderous applause. Her once smooth face now bore a latticework of scars from swarm nanites, and her left arm had been replaced with a cybernetic prosthesis incorporating etheri crystal technology. Those who looked closely noticed that her eyes sometimes flickered with an otherworldly light, the echo of her brief connection to the hive mind during the Battle of the Nexus. "The Harbinger believes itself inevitable," Maya began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber. "For 100,000 years it has consumed species after species, claiming it offers transcendence while delivering only extinction. It believes organic life is inherently weak, unwilling to make the sacrifices necessary for victory." She gestured to the displays showing the current battlefronts across a dozen star systems. "It does not understand us, any of us." From her seat beside the etheri delegation, Dr. Eliza Reyes watched with pride. The xenolinguist who had first decoded the etheri distress call now served as Earth's ambassador to the galactic community. Beside her, Rizal, now bearing the title of War Elder, a concept that hadn't existed in etheri culture before, pulsed with determined light. "Today we formalize what began in blood and sacrifice," Maya continued. "The Pact of Fire unites us not just against the Harbinger, but for a future where no civilization stands alone against extinction." As representatives approached to sign the treaty, a junior diplomat whispered to Eliza, "Why do the etheri insist on calling it the Pact of Fire? They're crystalline beings. Fire doesn't resonate with their culture." Eliza smiled. "It wasn't their suggestion. They insisted the pact be named after what saved them." She watched as Maya and Tholan clasped hands, flesh and crystal, in formal greeting. "They say that when they were at their darkest hour, humanity came with fire in their hearts and fury in their actions." Later that evening, as celebration echoed through the station, the etheri High Elder approached Dr. Reyes on the observation deck overlooking Earth. "We have a question that puzzles us still," the Elder said softly. "We called out in desperation, not knowing if anyone would hear." "Why did humanity answer?" Eliza gazed at the blue planet below, thinking of Earth's troubled history, the climate wars, the billion dead, the desperate decades of rebuilding. "Because once, long ago, we called out too," she said finally. "And no one answered. We vowed then that we would never let another voice cry out in vain." Across the galaxy, warships bearing the insignia of Earth and the etheri prepared for the battles to come. The Harbinger had dominated the stars for millennia, but it had never encountered anything like humanity, a species that had nearly destroyed itself a dozen times, yet always clawed its way back from the brink. A species that answered desperation, with fire and fury, yes, but also with something the Harbinger could never comprehend. Hope. Because humans knew better than any species in the galaxy that the darkness never lasts forever, not when you're willing to burn bright enough to push it back. The war continued, but the age of isolation was over, and for the first time in her life, Eliza truly understood the old saying from the climate wars, "Together we burn, together we rise." In the Quantum Communications Center deep within the orbital complex, Dr. Singh monitored the streams of data flowing between allied worlds. The technology recovered from the Harbinger's damaged station had revolutionized interstellar communication, allowing real-time coordination across vast distances. "It's ironic," he said as Maya entered the room. "The very technology the Harbinger used to control its swarm now binds our alliance together." Maya studied the holographic display showing the positions of allied fleets. 3 Harbinger nexus points had been destroyed in the past month alone. "We're pushing it back further than it's been pushed in millennia. But it's adapting." "That's what makes this different," Singh replied. "We're adapting faster." Admiral Chen joined them, her artificial eye gleaming in the dim light. "The Vextar fleet reports another swarm cell neutralized in the Cygnus arm, and the etheri telepaths have developed a technique to liberate consciousnesses from captured swarm fragments." Maya nodded, satisfaction evident in her scarred features. "Survivors?" "Over 3,000 recovered personalities so far," Chen confirmed. "Not just etheri, beings from a dozen extinct species, some trapped for centuries. The Harbinger preserves what it consumes, Singh said quietly. It never expected anyone would come looking for the pieces. Maya turned as Rizal entered, the Aetheri's crystalline form now adorned with human military insignia, a fusion of cultures once unimaginable. The 7th Fleet departs in 6 hours, Rizal announced. Our telepaths are ready. Maya clasped forearms with her alien counterpart, a warrior's greeting she had taught the formerly pacifistic species. Then we move on the next nexus point. The Harbinger believes itself patient and eternal. Let's show it the meaning of human stubbornness. As they departed to prepare for the next battle, Eliza remained on the observation deck, watching Earth rotate below. The planet bore the scars of the climate wars, the reshaped coastlines, the vast reforestation projects, the floating cities where once there had been only ocean, a planet that had nearly destroyed itself, now reaching out to save others. Together we burn, she whispered. Together we rise.